Okay, welcome. So in this video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to install Exchange 2019 onto Server 2022. And this is for those few people who are still desperate to be running Microsoft server software, especially when the next Exchange is coming to destroy your bank accounts. But there's always going to be some people who are still, they have to run it for whatever reason. I don't know why. So what you're going to do, first thing you have to do is make sure that the server, because this is a fresh install, so you've got to make sure that the server actually has a static IP address. So if we do, so if you just go into the network and sharing, so you've still got the good old network and sharing here. And then you've got your properties. IPv4. So you've got to make sure it's static, because if it's dynamic, it will complain later on when you try and do Active Directory. Let's just validate just to be sure. Well, you couldn't identify anything, that means it's okay. So best thing is just to make sure after that just that the network is still working. Yeah, it looks fine. Right, so next thing you have to do is make sure that it has like a decent name. So for that you just go into System and then just rename it, because you don't want win blah 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 to be its name. And this is a classic thing, is that this is still the same old Windows NT. I think 3.5 you had to restart as well, I don't know, but this is definitely NT4. The fact you have to restart to change your name of your computer, that's just madness. So that's a trip back to the 80s, or the early 90s, restarting your computer to change its name. I mean, that's so old. Well, not even old school. That's just like DOS days, isn't it? Right. So now, next thing you have to do is go into the good old server manager, and so we have to. Yeah, and as expected, there's always some services down, because Microsoft seems to love that. So if you go to Tools, no, it's Manage. So you want to add roles and features, and then so role based. Yeah, select that server. So what you want is Active Directory domain services. Right, so that's just going through the install. I mean, you can close it, but I'm not doing anything else, so I might as well just wait for it to finish. Okay, so installation's finished. I'm sure there's still some usual with some services. Anyway, so go to here with the exclamation mark. And so we have to promote it to a domain controller. You just got to log in with your admin password. So you have to add a new forest. Well, anyway. Yeah, I just clicked the wrong one, didn't I? So let's try again. So as expected, server 2022, they haven't basically done the code yet. So that's the password for if your server decides to crash, which you can expect if it's Windows. You see, because the good old Netbios from the 80s, is it? I think. Of course, Microsoft still has to care about Netbios, showing you how crusty their code is. I mean, they could just get rid of it, but I don't know. Okay, so that's where it's going to be located. The files, anyway. Okay, so now it's doing the verification. So if I've missed something, it will show up and install won't be highlighted. But install's highlighted, so that means we can, yeah, so it's passed, but there's always loads of, well, it's only a couple. Yeah, so it's nothing special, so just click install. Well, it's a bit too late now anyway. And this is another thing special about Active Directory is once you enable it on a domain controller, the server starts to boot more slowly, and you have to get used to that. I mean, this is server 2022, which is like years after NT. I think it was server 2003 where that started. I mean, NT4 was very slow as well once it was a domain controller. So it seems like it's a standard thing that Microsoft just refuses to fix, which is once you server 2000 or the Windows Server, when it's got nothing installed, it's fast. And if you install some, services from other vendors, it usually stays fast as well most of the time. But the minute you install any Microsoft services which embed themselves into the OS, that's when it gets slow. Okay, so that took a while, but that might have been my fault because I just need to check the disk space on the virtual machine drive. So I had to use the Netbios name, didn't it? Right, so now it's been promoted to a domain controller. Yeah, so we got one service here that's failed, but it's not worth trying to work out what's causing this. So now let's go on to the next part, which is we just have to install the requirements. Right, so now if you go to my website and then if you click on applications used, and then you'll see it won't be, well, it should be at the top, but well, the first time you come here it'll be at the top, but if I add any others it'll be further down. But just do click on the installed Exchange server, and then what you find is some links that you can use for the installation. So essentially all you're doing is just going through each of these and basically just installing them. Right, so this first one is just .NETwork Framework 4.8. I think it's already installed on this, but we'll see what it says. I mean, Microsoft's website, it does say you still need to check for this, even though it's Server 2022. Alright, so yeah, so it says it's already installed. So because it's Server 2022, so I might, I'll probably remove that one since it's not needed. But as far as I know, you need all these other ones because they won't be installed. Because this is a redistributable 2012. So now I've got no idea why you would need a redistributable from 2012. It's very strange. So we've got 64-bit. But what this shows you is how crusty the code is that Microsoft is using. So they're still using the crusty old code from 2012 in Exchange Server 2019. And this one's 2013. So if Exchange 2019 was new software, then you think it would be using Visual C 2018 or something. That's 32-bit, so we want 64-bit. And they seem to think that everyone is American for some reason. And they also give it the same file name, even though it's a different. The other one too. I don't know. They should just give it a different file name. So, right. So next thing, we have to open up PowerShell. And then we have to. Yeah, I think this, when you're on server, it's automatically administrator, so you don't have to run it as administrator. Okay, so it says that's success, so then we just do the next one. Okay, it seems like something must have been installed in it. So next one we need this URL rewrite. Alright, so just go for the English one, 64-bit. Okay, so something's changed. So I'll find out what that is. But then the last thing you need is this one. No, this is from 2012 or so. It says this is some old stuff that they haven't really updated, and so you having to install this old software to get a new software running, and that's typical for Microsoft. But they're the ones who keep telling you you've got to update every 5 minutes. But they're not going to update. They're going to use their old software just over and over again. So if they can do it, then why can't we? Okay, so that's an old and crusty piece of software installed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out to see what's going on with this URL rewrite. And then I'll continue the video. Obviously I'll cut out the bit where I'm doing the checking, but I'll continue the video once I've worked out why it's giving that error. Oh, actually, I think I see what's up. Yeah, so see, this gets installed by, if you install Exchange, I think it will install this, but then I think the rewrite module didn't. So the best thing you need to do, just go to Server Manager. And somehow Microsoft has managed to fix the services, which is amazing. To add roles or features. So I think if we keep that message, I think we need to get into information server. It says we need W3 service. Alright, yes, it's the next role. So let's go to the next one. Right, and So to raw server, right, yeah, this is what you want. So we need core web engine, which I presume is this, and then we need W3 service. Yeah, I think you just I think that's it. So just install that. Right, so that's finished. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what this has to say now. Okay, so that looks like that's all it needed. I just forgot, so I have to make sure to add that into the. So let me just make sure I've put that in the notes. Right. Okay. So that's those are the things installed that we'll need for now, like the prerequisites, and just check the notification. Yeah, just saying the install succeeded. So now, with those things installed, we're now ready for the server 2022. So the easy thing you can do is just do a search. I keep using Google all the time. At least with DuckDuckGo you don't have that annoying thing you have to accept at the beginning, even though it looks more confusing. So all you do is just do a search for, and this is the thing, you need to make sure it's at least CU12, which is 2022H1. So if you do a search for that, and avoid their adverts, because they're all, DuckDuckGo's got loads of adverts, a lot more. And so if you see where it says cumulative update 12 for exchange, and you can go for 13 if you want, but I'm just going for 12 because usually the newer stuff, the newer things that you download from Microsoft is the more bugs they have. So if you go, so you can go for 13 if you want, but essentially you just go for here and then select language and click on download. The reason I'm not clicking download is because, as you can see, the file size is 5.8 gigs. So of course I've downloaded it already. But essentially you just click download, wait for the 5.8 gigs to download, and this is a full exchange, and of course you can use it for testing purposes. So this is the ISO that I downloaded, and so you just double click on it, and what that does is that will mount it as a virtual drive. And so if you just go down, and then you find good old setup down here, and so then you just double click on it. Yeah, best just check for updates, because yeah, it is with, well, none were found. So let's keep going. So now it's going to copy a whole load of files to the storage to handle the install. And now this is just Microsoft will. Okay, so now get to the introduction. Obviously doesn't really say much, and so there's no point sharing the data because all they do is just use it for spying. They're not going to really fix much with it. Yeah, well, because this is just mostly spying they use it for. So we just want mailbox role, and what it is, because you see each role is independent, so you can't have them together. Make sure to click this, because I installed those items before and the 2 PowerShell ones, but there are other features and roles you have to install. But if you click this, you can save time not having to type them all out, because it's quite a long command line, and this just saves you having to do that. And just stick it in the usual place. Yeah, just disable it just to save CPU time. Now it's just checking to see if I've forgotten something. If I have, it'll tell me at the end. And actually, there's just one thing I want to just check, because normally when you promote to a domain controller, it changes your DNS settings. I don't know if it does it this time. Yeah. So if you go into your network settings and you find that your DNS servers have been changed to 127.0.1, that's been done by the promote to a domain controller. So as long as it's in here, that means your setup is running good, and it set it up properly. So that's one thing to check. Okay, so it looks like the boot be pending. Okay, so we need a boot. So Netbios name is too long. So the computer name has to match the Netbios. Alright, I see. So we've got these 2 errors, and yeah, so what it is, so the name we chose is too long. So Netbios name of the computer doesn't match the host name. Yeah, see, that's typical. You think after all these years that Microsoft would have got rid of this stupid Netbios, but it shows you how crusty they are. They got all these new fancy looking stuff and Azure and all that. But after all that, you're still limited by good old crusty Netbios. And they still can't. Okay, so we need to get this into less than 15 letters. How can we do that? Bug server. Alright. So it's got to be 15. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got to get rid of 2 letters. There you go. So that should do it. And guess what? We need a restart, because this is 1990s software, isn't it? So you still need to do a restart. We're back in the 90s now. Actually, that's what it used to be like with NT4. You click a load of buttons you'd click and you'd be restart. I think you had to restart to change your resolution. I can't remember now. There used to be loads of stuff you had to restart when you change the settings, and they've gradually removed a lot of them. But the one that they never seem to be able to remove is this Netbios thing. Because you imagine if, I don't know, when they come out with, because Vista was the last NT change, so with NT6 they never changed it. So if they come out with another kernel, an NT7, then maybe they'll finally get rid of Netbios, and then you don't need, and finally you don't have to restart after changing your computer name. That would be amazing. Okay, so finally we're back. You can see the time's gone by a bit. So what happened is that those names I typed in, they were wrong. So it's a bad idea to put sort of bad names into your server 2020 to 2022 before you install Exchange. But since I worked out what the problem is, I'll show you how you can tell if you're not going to get that error in Exchange. So essentially what you have to do is if you go into the system, so you see the name here. So I've got the name, so now I've changed it to bugfield 2022, and then on the to see what the fully qualified name is, if you go to advanced and computer name, see now it's bugfield-2022 and then bugfield domain, and that's the domain name. Now notice it doesn't tell you anything about Netbios here, so you might wonder, how do you know what the Netbios is? And this is where you have to actually go into the registry. So if you go into the registry editor, and then it kept it anyway, but what you do is you go to H key local machine, and then it's a system, and then current control set, and then you go down, and it's control. So it's control, which is here. Then you go down to computer name, and then when you open computer name, you got computer name here. When you click on it, it gives you the name, but this is a Netbios name. So you got to make sure that what you see here as a Netbios name is the same as this. We're at the beginning part here, and it can't be more than 15 characters. So yet again, back to the 1990s, good old Microsoft, they can't update this old crusty code. And this crusty code can come and actually mess you up if you get too happy with typing things out. So as long as what's here in the registry, because remember in the registry here, this can't go more than 15 characters. And the active computer name, that should be the same thing. So this is 15 characters max, because we're in the 90s now, you know, still after all this time. And as long as this matches this name here, then you're good to go. So we should be good to run that Exchange again. So let's see what happens. Let's run setup. Well, you next, but you won't find anything anyway. So now just wait for the files to copy. Okay, so just click next. You don't want the spy information, so go to Microsoft. So stop the spying stuff again. So on the mailbox role, and definitely automatically install, because you don't want to have to type that long command line string. So just disable it just to save your CPU. Right, so now it's going to go through and check if everything's right now. So we will find out. Okay, so it's like, and it was quicker this time. So just got the usual warnings, and it's telling you that it's going to change some stuff. But basically, as long as we get the install button and not retry, then we're good to go. So this is going to take a while, and I'm telling you, I've found that this takes a really long time. I mean, for some reason, Microsoft don't seem to have the ability to make Exchange installation quick, and I suppose that you can understand that if they don't know how to get rid of Netbios after like 20 years, then that shows you how useless they are at actually like coming up with modern software. So we got them stuck with Netbios, and Exchange, it was ever since Server 2008, I think, which is Exchange. I think Exchange 2010 was the first one, which was really slow. And ever since then, no, actually, I think whichever one it was with Server 2008, I think that was the first really slow one. Was it Exchange 2008? I can't remember, but I know that ever since then, installation of Exchange is just slow, and you have to be prepared for that, to wait ages for it to install. So you definitely don't want to be sitting there, or if you can try charging a customer per hour while you're sitting there trying to install it, but they're going to get upset because they'll think that you're ripping them off, because the bar's just going to sit there like for ages at certain points in the installation. Okay, so that's finished now, and so you can launch your admin center. Don't know which browser it's going to use, but it's probably going to use Edge, isn't it? Oh, so it actually gives you a choice. That's amazing. So let's use Firefox then. See if it complains. So you know, Firefox, well, Edge is annoying. Okay, so that's interesting. So for some reason, the latest version of Firefox, ESR, it doesn't work. Okay, so we'll have to launch. It's nonsense after all. Okay, I'm just going to see what's going on, and then I'll be back. Right, okay, so we seem to be in now. I suppose this is where, because I use such a bad login name, I have to try and remember what it is. Debug. Okay, so I'm finally back again, so let's give it another try after I did a reboot. Let's go into the administration center. I just need one more letter. Okay, so we're finally in. Right, so this is the one account that's in there at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back later and just show how to add some accounts, because it's getting a bit late now, so I'll just do that tomorrow. Okay, so it's time for me to just do the next part of this. I've got to run the mad command line. And as I was saying before, it takes a while to boot even when you've optimized it, simply because the minute you install Exchange, boot up is always slow. That's just a standard thing with Microsoft. They seem to have no ability to be able to optimize, software, because they just rely on your computer being fast. So if computers didn't get any faster, then Microsoft's bloatware literally wouldn't run. Because you think with all the money they're getting, that they'd actually sit down and work out how can we get Exchange to boot quickly, but they just don't seem to be interested. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just install like I said, I was going to do the 500 users. So I'm starting a bit late again, but just had some stuff to get done. So this file is included. If you go to the yes, if you go to our website and then just go to the Exchange server, if you go to the bottom, at the bottom you'll see that there's a 500 user zip file, so that's an attachment. So that's where you can find this particular, because obviously you can't put attachments on YouTube. So this is why you have to have like websites in order to hold like the proper information. So inside there's I've got this sort of information. So if you just open that with Notepad, so what this is just the command line for exporting the a file for if you want to like bench test the Exchange. But essentially the other thing you have to do is see these organizational units. Just need to create these, because if you don't, you'll get an error. So if we go to the Active Directory, so administrative, and then Active Directory users and computers, and then basically you just have to go into the domain, and then Yeah, so I think all you have to do is you need to add the, see, because I'm going to be adding the user to these organizational units, and I'm not sure where. Alright, yeah, so the organizational units, you can only create them in the domain. So essentially, you have to just make these 5 ones, these 5 organizational units, so that the script can work. And I haven't worked out a script which can create organizational units. I'm sure there is one, but I'm not sure how to do that. But it doesn't take long to type them in. Actually, you know, because before what I did is I accidentally made one inside another one, and it's because this protect container is on. If you make a mistake, it can be annoying having to delete it, because you can't just delete it straight away. Right, so we've got our 6 organizational units. So now, I mean, you can name them whatever you want, but the problem is that you'd have to. The only reason I had to create them is because this CSV. Alright, no. Yeah, this CSV. Yeah, see, it's got the organizational units in it, and those are the 6. So you have to create them in order for you to not get an error within Exchange. And the only reason I've done 500 users is simply because it's so slow. Exchange is really slow when it comes to creating the users. Right, so now just go to Exchange Management Shell, and like everything with Microsoft, it's going to be slow to start up. So just got to wait. Oh. Well, they fixed that, so it looks like it caches itself now. Before, it would do the line every time. Okay, well, I suppose that's something. Right, so now you just have to run the PowerShell. Hopefully Microsoft haven't changed things so that this script doesn't work anymore. Okay, so it looks like it still works, so they haven't messed around. Funny enough, this seems to be creating the users a bit quick. Well, I don't know. It might be about the same speed. Or I think it actually is slightly quicker. So it looks like Microsoft might have actually done some work on that so that it's actually a bit more usable. Of course, you've got good old 9 services not working. So that's typical Microsoft again. Okay, what's it saying? Summer comments. I've got to fix this. I think someone's name is here. So, like I said in the previous video, that, well, a long time ago, I said the same thing. That if the maximum length of the name is 20, then people in where is it, Sri Lanka, they're not going to be happy, because you're not going to be able to fit people with Sri Lanka names into this into 20 characters. It's just not happening. Alright, so that's the users in. So let's see if they've shown up. Alright, so as you see, when we go into each of the organization units, so we can see the users in there now. Right, so they're in. So, and we can just make sure that that works by just going into the administration center. I mean, this Netbios thing, I don't know where. Right, so there we've got the users in there as well. So you have 499, because obviously there's one less. I think it's 2 less actually. Right, so those users are in, and those are their email addresses. So the last thing I'm just going to do is just run a test against this exchange. And so what we need to do is to use the test program, we need the CSV of all the users. So if we paste this command into the shell, so what that's going to do is going to dump the details of the, I'm sure that's quicker as well. So it looks as if this server 2022, it's either it's faster, or maybe the virtual machine's faster, I don't know. Well, I've got a faster machine. The machine I'm running now is actually a bit faster than the previous one, so maybe if you throw a newer processor at Exchange 2019, it does run that much quicker, so it's possible. Right, so that's just a list of the addresses. So now I'm just gonna run that. Okay, so now I'm just going to try and run a test to see, just to try sending some emails to the Exchange server, see if it accepts them. Okay, well it seems like, let's see what's happening. Looks like Exchange is doing something. Right, okay, so I just worked out what the problem I was having was why postal wasn't working. So what's happened is that you see these quotes, yeah, so you have to get rid of them. So better just do it as do it in Notepad instead. So just open it with Notepad. So what you have to do, so if you get rid of this primary address, and then just do the quotes, and just go to replace, and just replace the quote with nothing. That should get rid of it. So now if you save that, so now okay, I think it's working now because I can hear the fan spinning up. So let me just see. Yeah, okay. So now it's feeling the strain because the postal is just hammering it. As you can see, the old good old Microsoft Exchange store worker is feeling the pressure. It's using the memory as well. So what's happening? That's now hammering the Exchange server. And this is something that you should always do when you set up a server. At least make sure you can receive emails. Obviously, the sending ain't going to work because you have to set up the proper relay, etc. But as long as you can receive, that means your store's working and everything else is working like you'd expect. And you can even try to see if the web access works. So we can just try one of the users. Okay, so there we have it. So we managed to get a couple of random emails. There's a lot of rubbish in it, but that shows it's working. So there you have it. And so we got another rubbish emails just come in. So what that shows is that this is how you set up Exchange Server on Exchange Server 2019 on Windows Server 2022, and then to check it's working, and make sure that you can actually get some mailboxes in there, and also that the mailboxes can receive emails as well.